Ma Barker, mother, accomplice, or criminal mastermind. Kate Barker, born Arizona Donnie Clark on October 8, 1873, and widely recognized as Ma Barker, played a pivotal role in the infamous Barker-Karpis Gang's criminal activities during the tumultuous Public Enemy era in the Midwestern United States. Known by various aliases such as Arizona Barker and Ari Barker, she not only bore the title of a notorious crime matriarch, but also earned a reputation for ruthlessly organizing and controlling her son's illicit endeavors. Throughout the era when criminal gangs held the public's fascination, Ma Barker actively accompanied her sons, who were key figures in the Barker-Karpis Gang. The exploits of these criminals captured the attention of both the American people and the press. J. Edgar Hoover, then head of the FBI, depicted Ma Barker as an exceptionally vicious, dangerous, and resourceful criminal mastermind. He went so far as to label her the most vicious, dangerous, and resourceful criminal brain of the last decade. This portrayal extended beyond law enforcement narratives, as Ma Barker became a symbol of monstrous motherhood in various forms of media, including films, songs, and literature. Barker, originally named Arizona Donnie Clark and affectionately called Ari by her family, was born in Ash Grove, Missouri, to John and Emmeline Clark. In 1892, she entered matrimony with George Barker in Lawrence County, Missouri, and together they welcomed 4 sons: Herman, Lloyd, Arthur, and Fred. Census records from 1910 to 1930, as well as Tulsa city directories spanning from 1916 to 1928, revealed George Barker's diverse employment history in generally low-paying positions, ranging from Crystal Springs Water Company to roles as a farmer, watchman, station engineer, and clerk. An FBI document painted George as shiftless, highlighting the Barkers' apparent indifference to their son's education, resulting in a state of more or less illiteracy. The criminal journey of Barker's sons commenced as early as 1910 when Herman faced arrest for highway robbery, a crime exacerbated by a tragic incident involving a child during their escape. In subsequent years, the brothers engaged in increasingly serious criminal activities, including robbery and murder, ultimately affiliating with the notorious Central Park Gang. Herman's life came to a violent end on August 29, 1927, in Wichita, Kansas, following a robbery and a deadly confrontation with the police. Faced with imminent prosecution and serious injuries from a car crash, he took his own life. By 1928, Lloyd, Arthur, and Fred found themselves incarcerated in various federal and state penitentiaries. In the 1928 Tulsa City Directory, George was last recorded living with his wife. Accounts suggest that he either left, unable to tolerate life with his criminal family, or was expelled by Ma Barker. Miriam Allen DeFord, a writer, portrayed George as quietly removing himself from the situation after Herman's death and his other son's imprisonment. The FBI's assertion that George departed due to Ma's loose moral life and involvement with other men contradicted a family friend's recollection of arguments about their children's misconduct. George, not a criminal himself, would later seek to profit from his son's assets after their demise. From 1928 to 1930, Ma Barker lived in dire poverty in a primitive dwelling, absent both husband and employment, while her sons languished in jail. This challenging period coincided with allegations of her involvement with local men, as suggested by the FBI. In 1930, she resided with Arthur W. Dunlop, described as his wife on the census. Life took a turn for the better in 1931 when Fred's release from jail led to the formation of the Barker-Karpis Gang with Alvin Karpis. Together, they engaged in a series of robberies, culminating in the killing of Sheriff C. Roy Kelly in West Plains, Missouri, on December 19, 1931. With Dunlop, Ma Barker became a companion on their criminal escapades, adopting various false names. A wanted poster from this period labeled her Old Lady Harry Barker, offering a reward for her capture as an accomplice. Subsequently, she became known among gang members as Kate. In 1932, Arthur was released from prison and reunited with Fred and Karpis, expanding the core gang by incorporating additional criminal associates. The decision to relocate to Chicago was short-lived, as Karpis rejected the idea of working for Al Capone. Racketeer Jack Pfeiffer suggested St. Paul, Minnesota, renowned as a refuge for wanted criminals at the time. The move marked a pivotal moment for the Barker-Karpis Gang, leading to a series of notorious crimes during their residency in rented houses. Operating under the protection of St. Paul's police chief, Thomas Big Tom Brown, the gang shifted from bank robberies to kidnappings under his guidance. Ma Barker's common-law husband, Arthur Dunlop, proved to be a liability when intoxicated, earning distrust from gang members, with Karpis describing him as a pain in the ass. At one hideout, a resident identified the gang through photographs in True Detective magazine, prompting a potential exposure. However, Chief Brown tipped off the gang, allowing them to evade capture. Suspecting Dunlop's loose talk, the gang murdered him during their travels, leaving his naked body near Webster, Wisconsin, with a single bullet wound to the head. Although Chief Brown's involvement in the escape remained unproven, he faced demotion to detective and subsequent dismissal from the police force. The gang then relocated to Menominee, Wisconsin, with Fred ensuring Ma's seclusion in various hotels and hideouts to shield her from knowledge about their criminal activities. The move also aimed to keep her apart from the gang members' girlfriends, as she did not get along with them. According to the FBI, Ma had a reputation for disrupting relationships, prompting other women in the gang to steer clear of her. By 1933, most of the gang returned to St. Paul, orchestrating 2 high-profile kidnappings of wealthy businessmen. They successfully obtained $100,000 in ransom from the abduction of William Ham and later secured $200,000 in the kidnapping of Edward Bremer. The FBI linked the gang to the William Ham kidnapping using a groundbreaking method of latent fingerprint identification. With the FBI hot on their trail and Chief Tom Brown no longer a source of information, the gang decided to leave St. Paul. They resettled in the Chicago area, arranging apartments for Ma while attempting to launder the ransom funds. Following Arthur's arrest in Chicago on January 8, 1935, FBI agents pinpointed the hideout of Ma Barker and her son Fred. A map discovered in Arthur's possession indicated the presence of other gang members in Ocklawaha, Florida. References to a local alligator named Gator Joe in a letter sent to Doc led the FBI to identify the house where the gang was staying. The gang had rented the property under the pseudonym Blackburn, using it as a vacation retreat. On the morning of January 16, 1935, agents surrounded the house at 13250 East Highway C-25. Unaware that Karpis and other gang members had departed 3 days prior, leaving only Fred and Ma in the residence, the FBI ordered them to surrender. Fred responded by opening fire, prompting a prolonged and intense shootout that resulted in the death of both mother and son at the hands of federal agents. Allegedly, locals gathered to witness the events, some reportedly even holding picnics during the gunfire. As the gunfire ceased, the FBI directed local estate handyman Willie Woodbury, donning a bulletproof vest, to enter the house. Woodbury reported finding no survivors inside. Both bodies were discovered in the same front bedroom, with Fred's body riddled with bullets and Ma appearing to have succumbed to a single bullet wound. According to the FBI's account, a Tommy gun was found in Ma's hands, while other sources suggest it was located between Ma and Fred's bodies. The bodies were publicly displayed and remained unclaimed until October 1st, 1935, when relatives arranged for their burial at Williams Timber Hill Cemetery in Welch, Oklahoma, alongside the body of Herman Barker. The prevalent depiction of Ma as the leader and criminal mastermind of the Barker-Karpis Gang, often portrayed in films like Ma Barker's Killer Brood, 1960, Bloody Mama, 1970, and Public Enemies, 1996, is widely considered by historians as fictional. Some skeptics have even cast doubt on her participation in a shootout leading to her death. Karpis suggested that the narrative was fostered by J. Edgar Hoover and the early FBI to justify the killing of an elderly woman by his agents. Posthumously, Hoover asserted that Ma Barker was the most vicious, dangerous, and resourceful criminal brain of the last decade, alleging that she enjoyed the fruits of her son's crimes and maintained a string of lovers. While Ma Barker's children were involved in heinous crimes orchestrated by the Barker-Karpis Gang between 1931 and 1935, conclusive evidence designating her as their leader is lacking. She was undoubtedly aware of the gang's activities and provided assistance before and after their crimes, making her an accomplice. However, there is no proof of her involvement in planning these criminal endeavors. Ma's role primarily involved caring for gang members, with her often sent to the movies while they carried out their illicit activities. As Claire Bond Potter notes, her age and outward respectability allowed the gang to conceal themselves as a family unit, adopting aliases like Mrs. Hunter and Mrs. Anderson for various activities. Alvin Karpis, likely the actual leader of the gang, characterized Ma as an old-fashioned homebody from the Ozarks, superstitious, gullible, simple, cantankerous, and, well, generally law-abiding. He emphatically refuted the notion that she masterminded the gang's operations, asserting that she functioned solely as a mother traveling with her sons, appearing innocuous. Harvey Bailey, a notorious bank robber acquainted with the Barkers, echoed this perspective in his autobiography, stating that Ma Barker couldn't plan breakfast, let alone orchestrate criminal enterprises. Writer Tim Mahoney posits that the true force behind the gang was the corrupt St. Paul law enforcement system, particularly under Police Chief Tom Brown. Mahoney argues that, before their association with Brown, the gang was merely a bumbling band of hillbilly burglars destined for capture or demise, suggesting that Ma Barker might have lived a lonely, impoverished life in the Ozarks had the gang not fallen under Brown's protection. The complex and controversial legacy of Ma Barker underscores the blurred lines between truth and sensationalism that often characterize historical narratives, leaving a lingering debate about the nature of her involvement in the crimes of the Barker-Karpis Gang.
And with that, we have come to the end of our video. Please subscribe, like and click that notification bell to be notified of our future episodes. This is Ben saying, see you next time.